everyone. Thank you for watching Jenny TV on peaceandhotness.com. I'm Jenny Boyle, and today I'm here with Paula Galli. She is author of the new book, Weighing Love, and she's a coach and a holistic nutritionist. Paula, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I was digging into your book a little bit, and I have a confession to make. The work that I've done with you, and I've obviously seen your website, and I've been on your Facebook page and everything. You're very fresh, and you're of course very young, and almost, and I hope this isn't offensive, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I'm just going to throw it out there. Almost kind of bubblegum, like you just have this very fresh face. And I was reading your book, and like within the first 3 pages, I was like, holy shit. There's a lot more going on here.
That first story was a big life-changing event for me. So the book is about my personal experience of going through an eating disorder since I was the young age of 9 that I started developing a dysfunctional relationship with food and really seeing my body through a negative lens and seeing food through a negative lens. But the book isn't really about myself. There are stories about myself, but it's really about helping readers change their relationship with their bodies, their relationship with food, their relationship with themselves and their life. If you're not present and you're constantly thinking about what's someone thinking about me, oh, how much did I eat before? What am I going to eat later? If you're not present and you're in your head and you're thinking about all of these things, that is a disordered eating mindset, and it's low self-esteem. And the goal of the book is really to help readers understand and start to think about what's going on in my head. Am I present all the time, or am I up here making up stories?
Right.
And then I help people figure out where do these stories come from, because they came from your past. Society has interpreted eating disorders to be on this spectrum of either, you're so anorexic, you are shaped like a skeleton and need to be hospitalized because you are going to die physically,
right,
or you're living over the toilet bowl. And those are the two main stereotypes that come with eating disorders. But I speak about this in the book as well, and I really think there should be a spectrum with eating disorders, because I myself didn't even think I had an eating disorder. I just assumed that I wanted to lose weight. When I was studying psychology, I was in my last year of university, that's when I realized, okay, like, I have an actual eating disorder, because I read about it in my abnormal psychology book. Right. And Princess Diana actually had bulimia, which I had no idea around, and they told the story about her, and they described this other story about somebody else, and I identified to it completely, except for the fact that I wasn't making myself throw up. But everything else that they described was like exactly what I felt. I think it's part of the eating disorder mindset in general, is that you don't even think you're good enough to get help for something, because there's such this idea of perfection with people that have eating disorders, the idea they need to be the best. So it's almost like an eating disorder mind. Anorexia, the ones that are really serious, like they're the best eating disorder. And if I can't be that, I don't deserve to get help.
There's a hierarchy of eating disorders.
There's a hierarchy of eating disorders. I definitely believe that.
That's not funny, but it's almost kind of shocking.
But it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's the best, because that's the person that's the most controlled, and that's the person that clearly looks the most sick.
A lot of people say that I teach at the yoga studio. They come in, and I definitely identify, with them and with their struggle. And I actually had one woman come in. It was a 6 a.m. class, and she came up to the desk, and it was her first time in there, and she said, okay, I'm here to do this yoga. I heard it helps you lose weight. And I'm like, it can absolutely help you lose weight. I mean, it helps restore your body back to it, its normal place and where you want to be. It helps invigorate organs, which can help with getting rid of additional fat, blah, blah, blah. And she looked at me and she goes, okay, because this is my last hope. And I'm like,
I just have goosebumps.
It's scary. I mean, it's scary how many. She was maybe mid 40s. I'm early 30s. You're late 20s. I have students as well that are 50s and 60s, and they're still struggling all the time with this constant cycle of dieting. And I call it the diet monster. You have different words for it in your book, but it's all the same thing. We're all trying to embody this ideal. What are your thoughts on that ideal? I mean, is it realistic? Do we need to abandon it altogether? How do we find this happiness in our bodies? And is there a peaceful way of going about that?
I would say the first thing that people need to start doing is, like I said, change their head. But the biggest thing is, like, ask yourself, what is this idea of who you want to become? So step one is your idea of what you want to look like, even something that you physically can attain. So how can I begin to embrace and accept the natural form that I have instead of trying to change into something else? So I made up this acronym called self-talk, a positive self-talk. So it stands for self-trust, self-acceptance, self-love, and self-knowledge. Because what I learned from my own experience and now working with other people is that those 4 things are very fundamental in living a life where you truly do look in the mirror and love the person that you are. For me, when people come in right away, and if I met that girl being like, I need to lose the weight, I'd be like, what's really going on in your life? Mm-hmm. Like, why are you really not in love with yourself? Mm-hmm. Why can't you accept yourself now?
If someone comes to you and they say, I don't love my body.
Yeah.
You know, I'm, say, 10 or 20 pounds overweight as determined by whichever yardstick. I don't love my body. So where I am right now, I don't love myself and I don't accept myself. So until I have lost the weight, I don't feel like I can love or accept myself. What do you say to someone like that?
Well, I would say, how can you begin to accept what you have right now and be grateful for what you have? So instead of focus on the weight, maybe you're not at the weight that you want to be at, but do you ever think about your body in a different light other than just weight? Yeah. And when you begin to love your body and see it as this temple, like we're told it is, yeah, and see it like this vehicle that drives us around the world and survives, like allows us to survive, you better start accepting this thing that you're in, because you better start falling in love with that thing that we have, because we're blessed to have a body. And we don't think that when you're in the ego. We don't think that when you're in the eating disorder. All you're thinking about, oh, it's too fat. It's like, screw you. The body's going to hate you right back and not going to want to lose the weight that you could, it's mad at you because you're beating it up every day. Mm-hmm. Like, give it some love.
Yeah. Give it some love. Reduce the stress.
Yeah, like, thank it for even taking all the abuse you're giving to it mentally every day. Why don't you try approaching this whole thing in a different lens, in a different light? Going down the path of, like, counting calories, working out every day. Clearly that's not working if you're doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Definition of insanity: doing the same thing over again, expecting different results to emerge. I say that in my book. That's not working. So try something new. Try the love approach. Try being kind to yourself. When you're looking in the mirror, start focusing on that inner dialogue that's talking to you, and how can you begin to not speak to yourself so abusively and start to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a best friend.
That was kind of one thing I was wondering. Did you find, like, looking back, and now that you have this psychology background and extensive experience in consulting with people, when you look back at the young Paula, she's 18, 19, and she's going through this eating disorder. She's using drugs. She's using alcohol. Do you think that was what you were really needing, was just that acceptance and that love?
I think for me, at that time, I felt that if I was skinnier, and if I was prettier, and if I was more perfect, then my relationship wouldn't be so terrible, and then my life would be better. So I thought, in order to have the life that I wanted, that's really what it came down to. I hated my life. I hated myself. That's why I focused on the weight. Yeah. Like, it's so much more than just the weight. Mm-hmm. And so much more than just the food. It really, in my eyes, has nothing to do with that. Right. That's all the surface of the underlying stuff. And the underlying is, like I always say, my fundamental things: trust, acceptance, love, and knowledge. Yeah. If those aren't there, of course we're going to go and focus on the weight. It just makes more sense. It's easier. I'm going to go to spinning 3 times a week. I'm not going to eat brownies this week. Next week I'm not going to eat this. Next week I'm not going to eat that. And it's like you're living inside of these rules of your mind versus living your life and trying to pursue dreams that you really have.
Okay, I'm just looking at the journal entry that you made on that night of your 20th birthday that you really feel turned things around for you.
So this is March 14th, my birthday, 2006. Today is my birthday. I am now 20 years old. This is the first day of a new time in my life where I should let go of all my teenage insecurities and try to look and move forward as a mature young woman. I recognize the fact that there are many things which I want to fix and improve about myself and within my life, but that if they don't change all at once or even right away, when I try and things don't work out the way I want them to, I can always try again. When I try and things don't work out the way I want them to, I can always try again.
That's just, it's so beautiful, because that honestly actually makes me want to cry. Because it's, I'm a huge journaler. Like, I write in my journal all the time. And looking back, I'm 32, and I can't imagine. Mind you, I think we've talked about this, but my journey didn't really start towards healing with all of this stuff really until about 2 years ago. But I can't imagine having that attitude at 20 years old of actually saying, because I've been for so long, like, I've got to do this and it's got to be like this and da-da-da. And to actually have the maturity to say at 20, if I try something and it doesn't work, it's okay. And I can just try again, and give yourself that permission. Like, whew, that's just like opening up, it just opens up so many more possibilities. And I almost feel, and I think you might agree, I almost feel like that might be what people need to change in this whole drama and this whole fight that people are going through.
We all have that little like nut. Like Oprah always talked about this, like that little like nudge in us, and that's who we really are. That's not fear, that's our love. And the whole like diet mentality and everything we were talking about earlier, it's all like a fear-based way. Like if I don't go to the yoga class, then I'm gonna get fat. If I don't, if I do eat the cookie, then I'm gonna get fat. Versus like, hey, do I feel like a cookie? No, not really. Or yeah, I do. Cool. Let me give myself something that I like. Or I know what, I feel like going to yoga. It's like it's such a different approach. And if we can look at everything from a place of love, I feel like our whole lives will change.
In the book, you actually break it down, and you actually give exercises, you give steps, and I know that it can get sticky for some people to hear like, oh, love your body and like accept yourself, right? And not to sound like it's a mockery, but it's hard. And it's almost, I actually read an article about it the other day about loving your body being a cliche, which I think is a pile of shit, because it shouldn't be a cliche, but apparently it is. But it's important to break it down into steps, and you've done that. You've actually given exercises, and you've helped people see how they can kind of come from point A to point B, knowing that it's not easy, knowing that it's going to take some time, that you're going to have to do some work that maybe you never even thought you'd have to do, but ultimately it's totally worth it.
I'm doing an Amazon day. Okay. So my goal is to become a #1 bestseller on Amazon, but the bigger goal in that is, if I become a #1 bestseller, and this book does, it's not about me, right? It's about what's inside the book to help women and to help create this movement of people. I'm not going to use the cliche thing, but of people really just being happy with themselves in their life. Yeah. This is not a straight and narrow path. It's not like, okay, follow each step of my book and now you're going to be perfectly in love with your body and your life. It's like, no, use this, go try it out, come back, use it again. You're going to fall, you're going to get up, but you got to just keep looking at where you're going. And on the way, you might even think that you're going backwards, but I guarantee you're not. As long as you know that you want to be on the other side, you will get there somehow. You just need to trust that you will and not give up. There's this deeper thing in me that I don't really understand that feels like this is my purpose, that I'm really supposed to help be the voice for women and really help them transform these relationships. Why are we all doing this? Why can't we just look in the mirror and just accept who we are?
I think it's really big what you've done, and I think it's awesome. And just having used your struggle and use the turmoil that you've been through, and it sucks, it's terrible, it's living in a body that you don't feel good about is I think it's something that a lot of us live with. And I think that anybody who's using that experience, coming out of it, and then turning that into the pages of a book that are intended to help people, fantastic work, Paula. I'm really happy for you. Readers, check it out. Weighing Love on Amazon. Today is the Amazon day, and let's just support Paula and show her, all of our love and all of our support for writing her book and taking this daring step. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today to Jenny TV, and I will see you soon.